The Olympics has changed some of its rules, but not for Sha'Carri Richardson and other Black female athletes. I'm Kim, and this is MTV News Need to Know. Despite global outcry, America's fastest woman, Sha'Carri Richardson, is officially not competing in the Tokyo Olympics. Back in June, Richardson tested positive for marijuana, and the International Olympic Committee suspended her for 1 month. But even with the suspension, she could have competed in the team relay. And not including Richardson on the relay roster because of her marijuana use was a choice made by USA Track and Field. The organization's statement read in part, all USATF athletes are equally aware of and must adhere to the current anti-doping code, and our credibility as the national governing body would be lost if rules were only enforced under certain circumstances. But speaking of the circumstances, do they realize the Olympics are happening in a tiny island country with low vaccination rates in the middle of a pandemic? Richardson's rise to fame and her current treatment have gotten worldwide attention. Even President Biden responded to her not going to the Olympics, saying everybody knows of the rules going in. Whether they should remain the rules is a different issue, but the rules are the rules. On this obsession with the rules, let's talk about how the IOC changed many of them this year. The committee is ignoring medical professionals who have said the games should be canceled altogether. The IOC has also continually changed who can be in the stadiums for what is usually an international celebration. And right now, the rules allow domestic spectators only and at half capacity. IOC members are also flip-flopping about when and where masks should be worn, and each one of these details could change again, given that we are still in the middle of an unprecedented pandemic. And while the IOC is being flexible and forgiving for itself, it's not doing so for its athletes. Grassroots organization No Olympics LA tweeted, "Tokyo is running out of hospital beds and hosting the Olympics. The only people on earth who can tell you with a straight face that this is a good idea are profiting from it. Hashtag cancel the Olympics, hashtag Tokyo 2020. While Olympics organizations have been contorting to make these sweeping changes, some of the rules they chose not to shift disproportionately affect women and minorities. Last week, swimming caps designed for naturally black hair were rejected. Simone Biles' most difficult moves are underscored on an international level due to alleged safety concerns. The IOC is continuing its ban on protests during games and on the podium, and despite many female athletes speaking out about this, the IOC is restricting competitors from bringing their children or childcare to Tokyo. This is a possible reason that Serena Williams chose not to compete. And plus, cracking down on marijuana has been a tool to target minorities for decades. Attorney Preston Mitchum tweeted, "I want to be clear. Rules are not neutral because institutions are not neutral. There's a troubling trend with what's happening at the Olympics, and if you're just hyper-focusing on Sha'Carri Richardson, and she was wronged, period, you're missing the larger issue." In Richardson's case, the IOC and the U.S. track team are using the sanctity of rules as a reason to keep one of the world's best athletes off the track. Both organizations cite the need to protect their credibility, but not letting the best of the best compete undermines the entire credibility of the final results. And plus, the IOC is fine exploiting labor laws, displacing locals, increasing policing, and ravaging natural resources every 4 years to make the Olympics happen. So who are they to hold a moral high ground? The fact is, Richardson is inspirational to so many and has done more for her sport with her star power on and off the track than the rest of the track and field events probably will. This adds to the perception that the Olympics are becoming obsolete, while individual young athletes are the ones who make the games worth watching. Richardson is undeniably a star, or in her words at the qualifying meet,
"I just want the world to know that I'm that girl."
I'm Kim, and that's what you need to know.